Hi everybody, welcome to Cage Minds. I'm your host Micah. Today we're going to be talking about and putting down my predictions, preview the breakdown for UFC 133. It's Saturday, August 6th. It's a card that's taking on the identity of kind of question marks. That being that we've had a ton of injuries leading into this fight, and the bouts, the fighters have been changed regularly. Thankfully now we have a set card. We're here to talk about it. And we're going to start at the bottom, work our way all the way through. Just want to say real quick, Alexio Sakara and Phil Davis, get well soon. Now we're moving on to the fights. Rafael Natal, who's 12-3-1, is going to take on the gentleman, Paul Bradley, who's 18-2 with 1 no contest. Natal is a 4th degree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He has really nice power in his hands. Now his opponent, Paul Bradley, is coming in on short notice. Thanks for stepping up to the plate. He's a Season 7 of The Ultimate Fighter alumni. He's riding a 5-fight winning streak, 4 of the 5 being by submission, all 5 being stoppages. Look for Paul Bradley, his wave of success that he's riding in. He's used to fighting on short notice. As to where Natal is not coming into this fight with great momentum. He has not won in his last 2 fights, a loss and a draw. I don't see the wrestler Bradley being a good matchup for the jiu-jitsu ace. Natal, I think Bradley's found the keys to win. He's found his game plan. He's going to show us that, come in and be victorious this night. So I'm taking Paul Bradley. The second fight that we have is former WEC champion, featherweight champion, Mike Brown, 24-8, taking on Ultimate Fighter Season 12 alumni Nann, who's posting a record of 16-9. Mike Brown has 13 submission victories in his career. Underrated takedowns, underrated ground game, good knockout power. But Nann comes in being a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu himself and a black belt in karate. I think we'll find this fight on the feet because both guys have comparable ground skills. Nann, though, I like his striking better. He is much better with the knees and the kicks. As to that, I think he has a bigger gas tank, more cardio ability, and I think that we're going to see him be victorious via a unanimous decision, outstriking, outpointing Mike Brown. Moving on to the next fight, we got 2 guys that are mirror images of each other. Johnny Hendricks is 10-1. Mike Pierce is 12-3. Both of these guys, though, are elite wrestlers, ground and pound. Hendricks, standing, has more power. It's in his left hand. He is a more powerful striker. Pierce himself has won 9 of 10 on a 3-fight winning streak specifically, and his last loss was to number 2 ranked welterweight John Finch. With all of that being said, though, I think that Hendricks is the more youthful fighter. He's been in some tough battles up to this point, and I see as this is the step up for him. This is what's going to put him onto a main card. I see Johnny Hendricks with a victory over Mike Pierce. But this is splitting hairs. I could be wrong. That one I'm very unsure of. Our next fight that we have Ivan Menjivar, who's 22-8, taking on Nick Pace, 6-1. Menjivar is a member of the TriStar Gym. A very talented, experienced individual. He has good clinch. He's strong for his size at bantamweight. Nick Pace is very well-rounded. 3 submissions, 1 KO. In his UFC victory, he beat Will Capizano. But Capizano, in my opinion, is a one-dimensional fighter, striking using primarily his boxing and only standing. As to where Menjivar is going to use the clinch, going to push the fight against the cage, going to use the ground game, going to use his ground and pound, I find that Ivan Menjivar is going to be a real threat in the bantamweight division, and I look for him to make a title run. I find him to be successful in this fight, my prediction. Our next fight, which now takes us to the Spike TV show, pits Chad Money Mendes, who's 10-0, versus Ronnie Yahya, who is 16-6. Mendes is a wrestler. He has tremendous physical strength, speed. His physical attributes are just tremendous. It's what you would want to start out with the base of an athlete. Yahya is a submission artist, a specialist. 14 of his 16 mixed martial arts victories are via submission. He does have a widely more growing striking game than what he's had in the past. He was able to stay on the feet and contend with Mike Brown. He's done it with other guys. That being said, though, Mendes, who was kind of a blanket in the earlier part of his career, has also shown his ability to strike, doing it with Nishigawa, and also saying that parts of his game plan here are to sprawl and brawl, stand and bang, keep Yahya away, and not mess with the submission game. The game plan sounds sound, and also his takedown defense of 100%, that's even more sounder. I like Chad Mendes to keep his perfect record intact and have a victory over Ronnie Yahya. The next fight, as we have it, pits Matt the Hammer Hamill, 11-3, versus the Mauler, Alexander Gustafson, who's 11-1. Matt Hamill fights with a boxing wrestling background. We know he's a powerful, strong wrestler. Gustafson, if you don't know, is an aggressive young striker, primarily with a boxing background, 3-0 as an amateur boxer, always improving on his submission skills, always improving on his wrestling, now working with Phil Davis. This is all Alexander Gustafson. Matt Hamill, he was kind of exposed by Rampage Jackson. His shot isn't as fast as we think it is. I think that Gustafson can stop it. He is even a more accurate striker than some of the guys that Hamill has faced, and I look for this to be a unanimous decision victory for Gustafson, Hamill being a very hard opponent to finish. This leading us all up now to the main card on the pay-per-view. Our first bout, as we have it, is the Waterboy. Rory MacDonald, who's 11-1, is taking on Mike Pyle, 17-6-1, the nickname Quicksand. MacDonald is the young MMA fighter, third youngest in the UFC, a member of the TriStar Gym, and a fight finisher, 6 submissions and 4 TKOs. Mike Pyle, the veteran that he is facing, has had many great wars over his career. His first ever mixed martial arts bout was versus Quinn Rampage Jackson. Even though he lost, he still wasn't deterred, came back in his second ever mixed martial arts fight to beat John Finch. He is a serious gamer, a longtime vet, a brown belt in jiu-jitsu with serious submission skills. He's won 8 of 10, 6 by submission. MacDonald is my pick to win this fight. I think he has a great potential, and every time that we see him fight in the octagon, he just grows by leaps and bounds and looks better and better. But if anybody can beat him, Pyle is such a well-rounded vet and always dangerous. The next fight, as we have it, pits Jorge El Conquistador Rivera, 18-8, versus Konstantinos Philippou Costa, the nickname he takes. He's 7-2 with 1 no contest. Rivera is a hard-nosed vet, longtime vet of 13 UFC bouts. He's 3-3 victories of his last 4. He's a striker. He can go to the ground. He likes to use his ground and pound. Mainly trains up in Massachusetts. Now has taken some training down to Albuquerque, New Mexico. Konstantinos is coming in on short notice, taking the place for the injured Alexio Sakara. He's a boxing background, tremendous striker, tried out for the Olympics, heavy hands, knockout power in both of them. He's unbeaten in 9 of his last 10 fights. His last loss is UFC debut versus Nick Catone. So I think, again, we'll see some more wrestling out of Rivera. We'll see a show, but I think he's going to do enough with the wrestling, enough takedowns. And also there's words of retirement maybe lingering for Rivera. I think all of that combined is going to give him the attitude, the heart, the determination to step away from this bout with a victory. I'm picking Jorge Rivera. Takes us to the battle of 2 veterans in mixed martial arts. Dennis Superman Hallman has 65 wins, 13 losses, 2 draws, and 1 no contest. Taking on Bad Boy Brian Embersall, who's 47 victories with 14 losses and 1 no contest. Both of these guys over 50 fights in their career, big vets. I wouldn't be surprised that if there will not be anyone caught on anything silly, but don't be surprised if there's some unorthodox moves that we've never seen before, with both of them being such veterans. They're both wrestlers, they're both submission artists, but as far as the striking game goes, Embersall is a much more unorthodox, a much more wild thinker, a much better mover, more head movement, more KO power. I'm liking him to take a unanimous decision victory from Dennis Hallman. Moving on, this takes us all the way up to our co-main event. We have Vitor Belfort, the Phenom, who's 19-9, taking on Yoshihiro Akiyama, 13-3 with 2 no contests. Belfort has some of the fastest hands in mixed martial arts, is an explosive striker. He's won 5 of his last 6 and 4 by TKO. He's faced 7 former UFC or Pride champions in his MMA career, so he has the veteran experience. Akiyama, though, tremendous judo, good submissions, power in both hands. He has great balance with the throws and the trips that he does. He has a granite chin, unable to be finished from knockout or TKO, but he has had 2 losses in a row, Michael Bisping and Chris Leben. Akiyama looking to come back, put a good foot forward. I don't see him rectifying this. In the big moments is when Vitor Belfort seems to shrink the smallest. This not being a title fight, this just being a co-main event, I think that spells the worst for Akiyama. And I think that Belfort will knock him out. This will end early and this will end hard. First time he will ever be knocked out. Taking us all the way up to the main event of the night, where Sugar Rashad Evans at 21-1 takes on the Huntington Beach bad boy, Tito Ortiz, who has a 17-8-1 record. This is the second time these guys are meeting. The one at both for the end of their records is a draw from their first meeting. Both men want a victory now. Rashad Evans comes in. We know his takedowns. We know his wrestling. A New York State champion. He wrestled at Michigan State. He has a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Hollis Gracie. He's trained with Craig Jackson. Tito Ortiz, always in Huntington Beach. In Big Bear. The wrestling, the ground and pound that made him a UFC legend. Well, the wrestling is pretty comparable. The ground and pound is pretty comparable. The submission game, they both say they've been working hard on it. More recently, we've seen Tito with the better submissions. As far as striking go, actually landing a more solid punch. We've seen Tito do it more. As far as leg kicks go and the kicking game, I think Rashad's better at that. The scrambling game, probably Rashad. Rashad is probably faster. And Rashad, if he wins this fight, gets a UFC light heavyweight title shot. So this is Rashad's fight to lose, but to me it almost sounds like a perfect storm within the changes in Rashad Evans' training, from moving from Albuquerque down to Florida, just some of the different aspects of his life that has changed. Tito Ortiz is on such a roll now. There's the perfect storm for Tito to win. I'm saying he could win. I'm saying it's not going to be a surprise if he does win, but I still believe Rashad Evans will come out victorious in this fight. Hopefully it'll be a good main event for us, picking Rashad Evans. So now that I've went through it, we'll go back through the winners real quick of who I'm picking. I'm taking Paul Bradley, Nann, Johnny Hendricks, Ivan Menjivar, Chad Mendes, Alexander Gustafson, Rory MacDonald, Jorge Rivera, Brian Embersall, Vitor Belfort, Rashad Evans. Those are my predictions for UFC 133. And again, as I said, to all the fighters that were injured leading up to this card, get well soon. Check out Cage Minds again. Thanks. Bye.